We'll do it live. Hi. I don't know how I can find out if people are here. This is my first time going live. So I'm just gonna start doing it. But today I'm gonna talk about President Trump's speech at the UN and why it was so important, because there was a lot of reactions, there was a lot of anger that we're going to address and talk about. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably, I don't think anybody, because you're here, so you found out about it and you came here, so you know me. But just in case, I'm Siavash Safavi, Sia Sufi. I'm a political refugee from Iran. I was a former political prisoner, and I lived in Turkey for 2.5 years, and then I got here about 4 years ago. And now myself and Daniel Boardman, we run this page called Civil Space. Now, the first thing I want to talk about before I get into Trump's speech is the idea of why we are so against Obama and what he did in the Middle East, especially regarding Iran. You see, Iran was always known as the rogue nation, okay, because it was the only government in the Middle East that was openly supporting international terrorism. Hezbollah, Hamas, in Afghanistan, several groups, and it was open, it wasn't hidden. And Iran was actually condemned of several acts of terrorism around the world, like in Buenos Aires, the AIPAC, was it AIPAC? Or what was the name of the Buenos Aires Jewish Center they blew up?
Wasn't it an embassy?
I don't remember. But the bombing in Buenos Aires and murder, assassination of the last Iranian prime minister in Pahlavi regime, the comedian and showman Feridun Farrokhzad, a lot of Kurdish activists. And overall, it was a known thing that Iran is a terrorist regime, ideological terrorist regime that doesn't follow any international rules and regulations. What Obama did was basically appeasing this crazy regime with the idea of if we respect them, they're going to play nice. And what they did was, after the sanctions against Islamic Republic, which everybody said they're not going to work, it's just going to hurt people. After the sanctions proved to work, after the sanctions really broke Islamic Republic's back, and the supreme leader came out with the term heroic flexibility for the inside propaganda, the domestic propaganda. Heroic flexibility. That's like right out of 1984 stuff. So he came out with this. Obama, instead of pressuring Iran to play the game and make concessions, human rights, in all these aspects, Obama did nothing. Instead, Obama started giving in to them and their basically what they want. Yes, Mykonos restaurants was another one in Germany that Iranian regime's officials, agents blew up and killed several activists. So anyways, don't distract me. I'm on a roll. So what happened was Iran got what it wanted from that nuclear deal. They got $140-something billion, which went straight to all their lackeys around the world. Hamas and Hezbollah actually rejoiced openly about the fact that Iran made that nuclear deal and it's gonna get that much money. Why? Because they knew money's coming, and it's coming a lot. It's gonna come a lot. So they were all happy. And Obama basically turned Iran from a rogue nation into a nation that sometimes doesn't play nice, basically normalized the Islamic Republic. Now, Islamic Republic is a country that in many schools you have to step over Israeli and American flags to go into classrooms. Many government buildings, burning flag is a normal everyday thing. Executions of gays, subjugation of women in streets, beating up women in streets for just wearing their hijab a little backwards, a little up to here. Lashings. Now, the recent years, they've started dismembering people for some crimes, according to Sharia, and all of that. Obama made that normal, made that natural, something that's just happening. Like Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we can't tell them so. No, you could, and you decided not to. Now, when Trump made that speech in the UN, several things were very interesting. First of all, before I get into it, was the fact that they had taught him how to correct himself. So when he misread something, he wouldn't just correct it. They told him not to correct yourself. He would just go and then say the right word, which was funny. Like he would say the word and the world. It was interesting. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just my ADHD. The second thing was the theme of his speech, which was basically patriotism versus globalism. And he referred to World War II and the fact that, which was a fair statement because globalism has become too strong these days and there is no sense of nationality and patriotism. And he mentioned patriotism, not nationalism, because patriotism is a more positive connotation, has a more positive connotation than nationalism, because nationalism can go crazy. But patriotism is something that has positive connotations. You love your country. Doesn't mean you're crazy and you agree with everything it does, but you're proud of what it has accomplished. And it was relative because during World War II, relevant because during World War II, if the French didn't have that patriotism, they would have just given their country to the Germans and said, we tried. Or the Brits. So that's important. But the main part of his speech, three main countries. There, he specifically mentioned three countries. He mentioned North Korea, the Rocket Man. He mentioned the Islamic Republic of Iran, and he mentioned Venezuela's socialist state, which has bankrupted the country. First of all, let's go to that. I have to mention his riff on socialism, which was the quote of the night, because he killed with that. And he got laughs in General Assembly of UN, and that's a tough room. Like, ask any comedian. That's a tough room. Like, you can't make Rwandans laugh. Like, that's a good room. So he mentioned what he said was people of Venezuela are starving not because socialism wasn't implemented correctly, but because it was implemented perfectly. And that got a laugh, and I got to give it to him. That was a good line. And then he moved on. First, he started with North Korea, which he mentioned the Rocket Man. And the big sore point for many people was the fact that he said that we will, if it comes to it, that we have to defend ourselves or our allies, we will destroy North Korea. And it might sound a bit harsh. First, let's just cut for a second. Does anybody have my voice? Or am I just talking into a vacuum?
You have a 10-second delay, and yes.
I don't see any responses. So I assume nobody has my voice. But okay. The way he said it might sound a bit harsh, but the reality is North Korea has nuclear weapons. And that is one crazy dude. Hi, Michael. So nothing has worked with North Korea for the last 67 years. So what Trump did was exactly what North Korea and Iran have been doing for all these years. We will destroy this country. We will destroy that country. And what Trump did was, hey, you're welcome to try. We will crush you. And the reality is, any response from United States will destroy North Korea, because have you seen North Korea on the map? It's this big, okay? So any response will automatically destroy this country. It's not like he was being too harsh or whatever. That's the reality. If a nuclear missile, North Korean nuclear missile, misfires, that country is done. So that was the reaction that I thought was kind of fair to a country that is threatening United States destruction with nuclear weapons. And then we get to Iran, which was the chunk of my thing that I wanted to talk about. Trump directly addressed Iran about the fact that this country has asked for the destruction of Israel many times. This is one of the chants in Iran. It's not like there is some AMIA. Yes, thank you. It was AMIA building in Buenos Aires that Iran blew up, and it was condemned for it. It was convicted of it. So anyway, thanks, Arash. So Iran has called for the destruction of Israel many times. This is one of their morning prayers. Every time they're talking about anything, Israel always comes in. So Israel, America, their flags on the ground, as I said, they walk over them every day. So Iran has called for the destruction of Israel many times. Hamas, Iran's pawn in Gaza, which basically Iran feeds it. Hamas's whole manifesto is about how they're going to destroy Israel and they're going to throw them away, throw them out. So what Trump did was roll back on what Obama had done for the last 8 years, which was basically trying to normalize Iran as like the mayor of London that said, yeah, living in a big city, you have to get used to terrorist attacks or something. Like, yeah, Middle East, you have to get used to Iran. No, you don't have to. Many Iranian people hate that regime. It's not like Saudi Arabia, where the absolute majority of the country supports the conditions of that country. In Iran, most people hate it. And they've come to the streets by millions. And they even asked Obama that, hey, dude, you're either with us or with them. And he said, yes, I'm with them, openly. So what Trump did was basically tell Islamic Republic that era has passed. Trump said that nuclear deal was disgusting, was an embarrassment to America, which it was, because it gave Iran whatever it wanted. And after it's done, after it's expired, Iran can get back to whatever it was doing, which Iran has already started, by the way. They're not waiting for anything. So that was a good message to send to Iran, especially if you consider Iran always goes under the radar. When you talk about international policies, nobody talks about Iran in a serious way, because Iran is not at war openly with somebody or whatever. It's not during a genocide or whatever. But the reality is most of that region's instability is because of Iran. Saudi Arabia is a reactionary regime. They started becoming involved in world politics. Saudi Arabia became involved in world politics after Islamic Republic's revolution, when Khomeini said, we're going to export this revolution to other countries. And they started with Iraq, and that's why Saddam attacked Iran. They said Saddam was the guy who started the war, but the reality was Iran was doing a lot of stuff in there. So Yemen, for example, Iran helped Houthis, who are a Shiite group in Yemen under Saudi Arabia's belly, to overthrow the government of Yemen. And after Iran did that, Saudi Arabia attacked Yemen, because they don't want Iran in their backyard. And now everybody's on Saudi Arabia's case, and nobody's talking about the fact that, no, Iran overthrew Yemeni's government. Nobody's talking about it. If you want to really, the reason I'm really scared of Iran and its role in the world is, you can look at Britain, okay? Jeremy Corbyn, he is the Labour Party leader in Britain. And he used to be a commentator, a consultant for Press TV, which is Islamic Republic's international broadcasting channel, international news channel, okay? Now, that might not sound like much, but the problem is Press TV broadcasted confessions of tortured prisoners in Iran as basically their confessions, like Maziar Bahari, who sued Press TV for broadcasting his confession, which was taken under torture, and Press TV was shut down in Britain. And Corbyn still worked with Press TV after that ruling, and that is the crazy part, okay? This dude could easily become the Prime Minister of Britain. And this is the guy who participates in Hezbollah rallies and Quds rallies, basically the day, anti-Semitism day, or something. You could call it Khomeini started Quds Day. And Corbyn participates in those. He supports Hezbollah, and he is against Israel in many ways. And this guy could easily become the next Prime Minister of Britain. And he is a big Iran supporter. And that is where you have to be a little more scared of what's to come and why you should take Iran seriously. And in order to give you an idea about why Iran is, for me, Iran is the same as Nazi Germany, Islamic Republic, is the same as the Third Reich. It's because of those systemic racisms and systemic discrimination. I do this because in Canada, most leftists don't know the meaning of systemic, so they use it for everything. But systemic means when something is in your laws, okay? When it's written in the laws of your country that these people cannot become president, cannot take public office. Baha'is in Iran are not considered citizens by the constitution. It is a divisive and subversive cult that should be eliminated. And they are being eliminated. Many of them are executed every day or killed in prison or are still in prison, and their properties are just confiscated, like Jews in Germany. They're not allowed to study in universities. They're not allowed to, basically, when they have a business, somebody can come and just take it away from them. And I had, in prison, I had lunch with a Baha'i kid who was basically on death row for several years, just because of preaching Baha'ism, basically. That was his crime. He was on death row for several years, okay? This is the condition of Baha'is in Iran. Sunnis, we have around 8, 9, maybe 10 million Sunnis in Iran, okay? You don't have we can't have president has to be Shiite. You can't have a supreme leader or president that is Sunni. And you can officially have some officials, higher up officials, but we've never had them by accident. We've never had a Sunni high-ranking official or a Kurdish high-ranking official in Iran, okay? Because Iran has an official religion, and that is Shiite. So the 15% of the country that is not Shiite, basically they are not worth shit. Now, aside from women's conditions in Iran, And now everybody says, yeah, every country has a law and Iran has its own laws, but not if most people are against it. Not if you have to beat up women every day in the street for not abiding by your law, okay? This is a country that is source of many evil. Like North Korea is an isolated country. I understand the threat of North Korea, and it's very crazy and big, but it's still one isolated country. It doesn't have the resources to go into other countries and start shit. Iran spends all its dollars, what Trump mentioned, all of its dollars to basically support any Shiite group around the world or any like Hezbollah or Hamas just to fuck with Israel. In the last war of the last Hezbollah and Israel war, where southern Lebanon was demolished, it was rebuilt in 6 months by Iranian dollar. And the funny thing is, many people are really angry about what Trump said about Iran supporting these terrorist groups. But the funny thing is, Hezbollah admits it openly. Hassan Nasrallah admitted it openly. Hamas admits it openly. Bashar al-Assad admitted openly that without Iran, there wouldn't be us right now. We owe everything. Iran stood by us when nobody did. They paid us money. They sent military forces to help us. They openly said it. And Khamenei also openly says it. So I don't know who is it that's trying to pretend Iran is not supporting terrorism or starting wars or supporting massacre of people by their dictators and all of that. I don't know who is trying to pretend that is the case. Like Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, just said, Trump's ignorant hate speech belongs in medieval times, not the 21st century UN. Unworthy of a reply. Fake empathy for Iranian fools no one. Okay, Mr. Zarif forgot that about a few years ago, Iranians Speaker of the House, head of parliament, openly, in an open session, not behind closed doors, in an open session of Congress, called Obama the N-word. Okay, this dude is talking. You see, these are like monkeys who have learned how to act like humans. Okay, Zarif has learned the language of the left, and he is using it. This is hate speech. Really, dude? Really? Hate speech. Somebody who's beating up women in his own streets, cutting off people's parts for doing stuff, lashing young people for just knowing girls, myself included, killing Baha'is just because they're Baha'is. He uses the term hate speech. That is priceless. They have learned the language, okay? We owe to the left everything they're doing right now, all these things that Islamic Republic does. They won their revolution with the help of the left, how to fool Westerners, and they are pushing forward their agenda with the help of the left and their languages. So, I guess this is the main chunk of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. And if you guys have any ideas, anything you want to talk about, any questions, anything you want to bring up, we can go through it. Or if I can come up with something, we're going to go for 30 minutes. Yes, thank you, Michael. And yeah. Yes, I was lashed in Iran for walking in the street with a girl. Well, in my stand-up, I used to say with my girlfriend, but it wasn't my girlfriend. It was meeting her for the first time, and we were not even touching hands, and it was weird. And they got us, and like that leaves a black eye for the rest of the day. It's like after you get lashed, it's not like you can go, hey, so how about that guy? He was really strong, wasn't he? So, yeah. So that's funny to me when they start talking about hate speech and human rights and stuff like that, because these people are evil. Islamic Republic has done more in the region to kill people. Iraq, the reason Iraq was destabilized after America went there was Iran. Nouri Maliki's government belonged to Iran. Okay, Iran was paying for it. Hamid Karzai in Afghanistan was caught receiving millions of dollars in bribe from Iran. And he actually openly said, oh, that's a natural thing, and we do these things. So, awesome. So, this is a country that basically is doing about 8-9 years ago, some country, I'm sorry, I'm not being a jerk, but I don't remember, one of those very small countries in West Africa, okay? One of those countries had basically openly objected to Iran for sending a shipment of weapons to an Islamic group in that country. This is West Africa we're talking, okay? That ship has to go a long way. And Iran is sending money to those. And in Iran right now, people are lining up for food and stuff. Aside from the fact that they're getting beaten up for everything. And they're getting killed in the street. And whatever. And journalists are in prison. Every person who actually deserves a good life, can change that country for the better, is either in prison, killed, or has been forced out of the country. And that country is talking about hate speech right now. That's how much the left has given into these crazy people. Okay? These crazy nut jobs. Yes, Sasan Aghai was the recent journalist in Iran who was arrested and is now in prison. But this is the sad part, that the left has normalized terrorism and Islamic fundamentalism. Why? Because they know, all these Islamic Republic officials, they all know, all they need to do is put on a suit, come on leftist TV like CNN News, and smile and bullshit. It was funny. Ahmadinejad went on CNN and 3 people interviewed him. Christina Manpour, that dude, Larry King, may rest in peace, although he's not dead yet. And as soon as he'd say, yeah, we don't have political prisoners, they would say, oh, all right. Oh, my bad, man. My bad. This is the state of Western media in dealing with one of the craziest and most dangerous regimes in the world. So that's the word. And if there's no subject or something that you want to bring up, anybody? If not, we can end this session. Yeah, that's another funny thing. Socialists here who are supposed to be supporting workers in Iran, workers everywhere, workers of the world unite, they are completely, because one of the biggest oppressions in Iran is on labor unions. Okay, Islamic Republic doesn't want anybody to organize, and labor unions are very dangerous. So all of the labor activists in Iran have received long-term prison sentences. They are under terrible conditions. And no leftist here, no socialist even here talks about it. Nobody. Because they don't care. They just want their revolution here. And they need these crazy Islamists to help them with it. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, Islamic Republic is one of the only countries, aside from like crazy, I don't know, countries that don't have laws or anything, that officially, if you do a crime, or if you basically refuse to cooperate with them, spy for them. Hamid Babai is an Iranian PhD student who went to Iran, and they offered him a spy ship, espionage ship, what do you call them? Like the spy position. Spy position for the intelligence ministry in Iran. And he said, because he was in Belgium, and they said, our last agent in the French-speaking area of Belgium has returned, and we don't have anybody else. So we'll offer you this and this and this if you cooperate with us. And he said, no, thank you, guys. I'm not into this stuff. So when he tries to return back after a week, he finds out that he's not allowed to leave the country, and he is summoned to intelligence ministry, and he's arrested, and years have gone by, and he's still in prison because he refused to be a spy. That's his only crime. The other one, which is even scarier, was this 15-year-old kid, Sunni kid, whose brother was told by Islamic Republic's intelligence ministry to spy for them among the Sunni clerics. And that guy refused, and they came to arrest him, and he escaped. So what they did was they arrested his younger brother, 15-year-old brother, and he's still in prison after 3 years, and he's had several broken ribs, broken leg, broken nose, broken jaw, and he's been resuscitated several times. This 15-year-old kid. And they told him, hey, unless your brother returns, you're going to die in here. They have told him openly this. And this is the regime that these leftists are supporting. And these Iranian regime's pawns here pretend that, things are going okay. It's not great, but it's going to get better. So, all right, guys. I don't see any... Thanks, Michael. Come by more often. Follow us on Civil Space, by the way. And thank you, everybody. God bless you, and God bless these nuts. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize. I should have cut like 5 minutes ago. See what happens? You see what happens when you... No, I'm not going to go there. Bye.